Welcome to F-Bomb Friday. I'm your host, Tracy Preston, along with my husband, Todd. Hey, hun.
Hey, baby.
Are you ready?
I am ready.
Let's hit it. Some legends are born from truth. Others from fear. They begin with a whisper around a campfire, a warning passed from one generation to the next, a story, or a story told just often enough that people stop asking whether it's real and start wondering what would happen if it was. Michigan has no shortage of strange tales, from shadowed forest and forgotten back roads to abandoned farmhouses and lonely stretches of highway. There are places where people swear that something is watching from just behind that tree line. Today, we are heading into the woods surrounding White Cloud, Michigan, where hunters have abandoned their blinds, hikers have turned back without explanation, and locals have spent decades trading stories about a creature that walks like a man, but wears the face of a beast. Is it a cursed soul? A forgotten experiment? A monster born from tragedy? Or just another tale meant to keep curious people out of the woods after dark? Whatever the truth may be, one thing is certain. If you hear heavy footsteps in the darkness and the sound isn't quite human, don't wait around to find out what's making them. Because on today's episode of F-Bomb Friday, we're talking about the Pigman of White Cloud. Now, there are monsters that announce themselves. They roar and scream. They tear through the night with claws, teeth, and fury. And then there are monsters that simply watch. They wait beyond the edge of the firelight. They stand between the trees where the darkness becomes too thick to see through. And sometimes they look almost human. Almost. Deep in the forest of West Michigan, in the quiet corners of Newaygo County, there are stories of something strange wandering through the woods. Something that walks on two legs. Something that watches from the shadows. Something that, at first glance, might look like a person. Until that is, you see the face. A face that isn't human. A face with a snout. A big face with small, dark eyes. A face that belongs to something caught somewhere between man and beast. A creature remembered in whispers as the Pigman. Now, before we begin our journey into the forest of Michigan, we need to address something important. Unlike legends like the Michigan Dog Man, which has decades of documented stories, books, investigations, and eyewitness accounts attached to it, the Pigman of White Cloud is different. There are no newspaper articles announcing its arrival, no official investigation, no confirmed first sighting, no historian who can point to one exact moment and say, that is where the legend began. And perhaps that makes it even more fascinating. Because folklore doesn't always begin with a headline. Sometimes it begins with a conversation, a story told around a campfire, a warning given to children, a strange shape seen between the trees, a name whispered enough times that eventually the name itself becomes alive. And in Michigan, we have always been good at creating monsters. Maybe it's because of our forests, our abandoned roads, our forgotten towns, our endless stretches of wilderness where a person can disappear only a few miles from civilization. Michigan is a state where nature still feels bigger than us. The Upper Peninsula has its legends. The Great Lakes have their monsters. Small towns have their ghosts. And deep in the woods, we have creatures. Some are ancient, some are mysterious, and some are created because humans have always feared what might be watching when we cannot see. Now, the Pig Man is a regional urban legend based in the heavily forested area surrounding White Cloud and the nearby Dungeon Swamp. It is a local cryptid tale, often shared by hunters, campers, and teenagers looking for a scare. While the exact details vary depending on who is telling the story, the underlying events of the myth remain consistent. The creature is described as a tall, hulking, bipedal humanoid with long black hair and the distinct, disfigured facial features or head of a pig. The most common local backstory claims he was once an angry farmer who suffered a horrific accident while carrying a pig down a steep hill, somehow conjoining with the animal. Another variation states a falling rock decapitated the farmer and a pig's head took its place. Sightings are concentrated in deep wooded areas, creeks, drainage systems, and a small landmass known locally to youth as Pig Man Island. Surrounded by forests, rivers, swamps, and the remnants of a landscape shaped by Michigan's logging history. This is the kind of place where folklore feels natural. The woods have always had rules, and every culture has created something to represent those rules. Like, don't travel alone. Don't go into the forest after dark. Don't follow strange sounds. Don't ignore the feeling that something is watching you. And don't ignore the feeling that something is watching you. The Pig Man is one of those warnings. A creature born from the uncomfortable question, what if something out there looked enough like us to get close, but not enough like us to trust? Imagine walking through the woods outside White Cloud. It's late autumn. The leaves have fallen, leaving the trees bare and twisted against a gray Michigan sky. The forest floor is covered in damp leaves. Every step sinks slightly into the soft earth. The air smells like wet bark, moss, and decay. You hear movement, not the quick scampering of a squirrel, not the distant call of a bird. Something heavier, something deliberate. A branch snaps. You stop. The woods go silent. And then you see it. At first, your mind tries to explain it. Maybe it's a person. Maybe it's a hunter. Maybe it's someone that's lost. But then, whatever it is, turns. And your brain struggles to process what your eyes are seeing. The creature stands somewhere between 6 and 7 feet tall. Its body has the proportions of a human, but everything about it feels wrong. Its shoulders are broad and hunched forward, giving it a powerful, almost animalistic posture. Its arms hang longer than they should, ending in hands that almost look human, but with thick, darkened, dirty fingers. Its skin is described differently depending on who tells the story. Some say it is pale and almost hairless, like the flesh of a wild animal. Others imagine coarse bristles covering its body, a layer of dark, filthy hair like a feral hog. A creature that looks like it had spent years crawling through Michigan's underbrush. But the worst part is the head, the face, the thing that makes people understand this is not a person. The head resembles that of a massive wild boar. A long, distorted snout extends from the face. The nose is broad and wet, constantly twitching as if it's searching for a scent. Two small, deep-set eyes stare from beneath a heavy brow. Eyes that are not wild like animals. Eyes that seem intelligent and aware, watching. The mouth stretches wider than any human mouth should, revealing rows of thick, yellowed teeth. Not the sharp fangs of a predator, but the unsettling teeth of something built to crush. Some legends describe a low, growling sound. Others describe something even stranger, a breathing noise, a wet, heavy snorting, like a massive animal trying to imitate a human being. And perhaps that is what makes the pigman so terrifying. Not that it is a monster, but that it seems like a monster trying to remember how to be a man. And this is where the legend connects with a larger family of Michigan creatures, because the pig man is not alone. Michigan folklore is filled with beings that blur the line between human and animal, creatures said to roam forgotten places and abandoned areas. Each one reflects a different fear. The dog man represents the predator, the unknown animal hiding beyond civilization. The pig man represents something different. The fear of corruption, the fear of transformation, the fear that something human can become something else. And Michigan has another legend that walks very close to this same territory. The Detroit Pig Lady, a woman, a creature, a warning. The Detroit Pig Lady and the Pig Man of White Cloud, they are unrelated legends, but the idea remains the same. A human being changed into something unnatural. And that connection is what makes the Pigman legend so fascinating. Both legends ask the same unsettling question. What happens when the boundary between human and animal disappears? Throughout history, pigs have occupied a strange place in human imagination. Pigs can be genuinely intimidating because of their surprising physical power, intelligence, and anatomical similarities to humans. They are incredibly strong and fast, can be aggressive when threatened, and their omnivorous nature combined with iconic, high-pitched squeals often evokes a primal sense of unease. Adult feral hogs can weigh hundreds of pounds, run faster than humans, and possess sharp tusks. Their dense skulls are unpredictable, and their aggressive charges make them incredibly dangerous to encounter in the wild. Pigs are voracious eaters and can consume almost anything, including bones. Now, this trait has made them a popular trope in horror media and true crime stories for destroying evidence. They are bare, pinkish skin, like a fur, and facial structure, specifically the snout, bear an uncanny resemblance to human features, leading to an uncomfortable, uncanny valley effect for some people. Now, a pig's squeal can reach up to 115 decibels, which is louder than a supersonic airliner. The sound can be piercing and resemble human screams, which triggers a natural startle or sympathetic fear response in people. So, you see, all of this has all of the ingredients of a perfect nightmare fuel. Every legend has a moment when a story stops being just a story. A moment when someone says, "I don't know what I saw." And that uncertainty becomes the beginning of something bigger. Because the truth is, most monster stories don't begin with someone seeing a monster. They begin with someone seeing something they can't explain, like shape, sound, a movement, a feeling. Now, the forest has always been full of things we don't understand, and sometimes our imagination fills in the blanks. Stories of creatures like this often share one common theme. The witness survives. They run. They escape. They tell someone, and almost immediately, they are asked the same question. Are you sure? Because that is the strange relationship we have with monsters. We want to believe, and we want to dismiss. We want the world to be mysterious, but we also want to believe we understand it. Maybe that's why the pig man remains fascinating, because it sits in the uncomfortable space between reality and imagination. It isn't a famous cryptid with hundreds of reports. It isn't a documented historical figure. And it isn't a creature with a clear beginning. It is something much older. A whispered warning, a strange idea, a monster that exists because people keep telling the story. That is the real power of folklore. The legend doesn't need proof. It just needs a reason to survive. One legend survived because it represents the fear of something wild and powerful hiding beyond civilization. Another survives because it represents the fear of forgotten places and abandoned people. Another survives because it represents tragedy and transformation. But the pigman of White Cloud, maybe he represents something even more uncomfortable. The fear that the line between human and animal is thinner than we want to admit. The fear that the wilderness doesn't just surround us, it remembers us. Now, there's another reason this legend feels so at home in Michigan. It's our relationship with the woods. It's complicated. We love them. We hunt in them. We hike through them. We camp in them. We escape into them. But we also must respect them. Because every Michigan resident knows that there are places where the trees grow thick, where the roads become empty, and where the darkness comes quickly. Places where you suddenly realize, I am not the only thing out here. And that feeling, that tiny instinct buried deep inside us, it's where monsters are born. So I ask you, is the pig man of White Cloud real? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe there was once a strange person who inspired the story. Maybe someone saw an animal in the darkness and their imagination did the rest. Maybe it was simply a tale created to keep kids away from dangerous places. Or maybe, somewhere deep in the forest of Newaygo County, something walks beneath the trees. Something that waits. Something that watches. Something that reminds us that even in the modern world, there are still mysteries. Because every monster has a home. Every legend has a birthplace. And every shadow has a story. For Michigan, the story of the pig man is not just about a creature with a strange face. It's about the forest that created, the people who pass the stories down, and the endless human need to investigate the darkness and wonder what might be looking back. So the next time you find yourself driving through the quiet roads of West Michigan, when the trees close in around you, when the last house disappears in your rearview mirror, and when something moves just beyond the reach of your headlights, remember this: not every legend lives in old books. Some live in abandoned places. Some live in forgotten towns. And some still walk between the trees. Well, I've seen wild boar, and they're frightening, so I couldn't imagine one being 6 to 7 feet tall, like on a human body.
Right. They're kind of scary. I mean, if you think about it, they can devour anything, including bone. So this is pure nightmare fuel. This is a new fear unlocked for me, I think, for sure.
Right, and I can just hear the squealing, and them sons of guns is fast.
Fast, yeah. I remember growing up, I had a buddy that lived down the road, and his dad was an avid hunter, and he had shot a wild boar way back in the day. This thing was massive. The head he had mounted took up almost half of the wall on his bedroom wall. It was crazy massive.
And they have the tusks.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've always heard if you see one of those in the wild, you better move it.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how good that would do you, because they can outrun a human, that's for sure.
They're fast.
They are fast. And it's surprising because when you think of pigs, you usually think of something lazy or slow or obese, but pigs are fast.
Yeah, quite the contrary.
Right. Now, this is a very localized urban legend within the Newaygo County, but it's not isolated. There are other pigman legends in Vermont, Tennessee, and also Texas. And I get it. These creatures are ferociously terrifying.
Yeah, I don't ever want to run into one, let alone one that is a man body.
Right. Now, at least within this legend, there's not been any attacks. This creature just watches you, but still, I don't want to be watched by a man-eating pig either.
Who's to say it's going to watch for long?
Right. Yeah.
Who's to say anybody lived from being watched?
Right. And
we don't know.
Yeah, and if you get eaten, how do you know? Because there's nothing left of you. This thing's going to eat all of you, even the bones.
The only thing I don't think that they can digest is teeth, and we've talked about that before.
Yeah. Well, you find some teeth out in the woods, you might want to question what happened for sure.
Some teeth in a pile of poo. Gross. Well, great story, hun.
Yeah, how the turntables, thinking about it, how much pork this nation consumes. But think about it, all the pork, all the ham, all the meat that we eat, and you have something out there that could possibly be switching it up on you.
Right.
Hunting you down for food.
My turn.
My turn, right? Oink, oink.
That's right. Well, great story, hun.
Thank you.
You want to sign us out?
I sure do. You better lock your doors. You better lock your windows. And you might want to check under your bed.
All I can say is if you are in the woods and you see something that looks like a swine on a man's body, you better hightail it out.
Yeah, get ready because it's about to go down.
That's right. Well, thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. And we will see you again on Malice Monday.
We will see you on Monday.